Baby Lasagna has been chosen as the act for Croatia to participate in this year's Eurovision. Two semi-finals resulted in a grand final of 16 songs where a mix of jury and televote scores would decide the winner. Baby Lasagna already got first place after the jury votes. When the televote came in, it was clear that they smashed the competition. He scored 247 points, which was a massive 53.6% of the entire televote score. And he will performing his song Tim Tagi Dim in the first half of the first semi-final. Gabe, did you watch Dora and what did you think of the show? What do you think of the song? What do you think of its chances?
Yes, I did watch Dora this year, and I'm gonna get the negativity out of the way now because I'm so excited about this song that I think I want to put it in a nice little negative box and then just go, whoo! This is a masterpiece performance from the broadcaster on how to do the right thing while simultaneously alienating everyone and making them hate you. Now, I'm sure many in chat will have heard the story of this entry already, but I think it's worth telling again, just to really spell out how, firstly, how much of a fairy tale story this could be for Baby Lasagna, and secondly, just how lucky the broadcaster is to end up with an entry like this. On the original 24 songs participating, this did not appear. It was listed as a reserve entry, but then when another artist dropped out, Baby Lasagna was drafted in at the last minute. He had just a month, less than everyone else, just a month to do a music video, prepare his performance, do all of the promo, get everything ready, become physically fit enough to do what was a quite physically demanding choreo. Then you get to the live shows and the broadcast, the sound engineering is terrible. The stage is, to be honest, it was dark. The crowd was tiny. The mixing was off. There was so much wrong here. You had a broadcaster where the head of delegation was saying, "Oh, we've gone up so much in the odds because people like Let 3 so much." So you have a broadcaster that doesn't understand what it's doing at all. You're in the national final by accident. You're an unsigned artist until very recently. You've never performed solo on TV in your life. That was the Baby Lasagna context coming into this. And he comes in and wins with 4 times as many points as anyone else. Like, if that isn't the most incredible story, like, and you know how much of a sucker I am for these kinds of narratives, then I don't know what is. And now I've got all that negativity about HRT, and Croatian media are cooking them today for what has happened, and rightly so. I just think this is the most amazing opportunity for Croatia. I think it's the favourite to win right now, comfortably. I think it's an absolute lock for top 5 at a minimum. There's just... It's catchy. You get it on the first listen. And one thing I've really noticed, I've been seeing this on my timeline and so on, is people saying, usually I would hate this type of music. Usually I don't like this style of music, but I like this. That is how you win Eurovision. You produce something which is distinctive, which is, unique and represents your true musical expression, represents the kind of style that you want to create, but is accessible enough that lots of people who maybe wouldn't usually listen to that style of music come out and vote for it. That's what Baby Lasagna has done. This is such an amazing opportunity for Croatia. It is, in my eyes, the favorite right now to win. I am so excited. I just hope that now we're in the hands of an actually competent production team in Sweden, that the performance, when it comes to it, will do him justice. It was so clear how much he improved in a short time over the period of the Dora week. He has 3 months to get this right now, and I am really excited. Last thing which I missed from my start thing is also he wrote, produced, and mastered this song himself in his bedroom, and his long-term partner, she produced the music video and directed it.
Mental.
It's just the whole story is amazing. It is just the best story ever. He had like 50 Spotify listeners before this. It's wonderful. Anyway, sorry. You have some opinions, Roy. Say some things, because I'm about
Oh
to
boy,
go
do I
off on
wish
one.
I could be negative about this song, but I have to echo a lot of what you say. This song is incredible. I play handball for the people who don't know, and we had an away game this weekend, and the song wasn't even selected yet, but we had like a joint queue, and I was like, you know what, let's just put Tim Tagi Dim in there. And I was like, I'm not even gonna say that this is in the running for anything Eurovision. And often my teammates are a bit like, ooh, Eurovision, ooh, I don't like it, I hate it, I hate it. They were loving this song. Like literally, the first chorus, you have that whoa. The second time the whoa ho came in, two of my teammates already started saying, whoa. That is so powerful. And that will only be amplified in the arena. It will be amplified by people at home. It's memorable. It has a great staging. He is a bloody rock star. Like he rocked that stage. It's mental to see him being such a professional for how little performance experience he has. Really, uh, this is a visual great piece as well. The only thing, will people in Europe love rock music as much? I mean, we had Keria last year. That was very much rock and metal influence as well. And that kind of smashed the televote by him, the landslide. I really hope Croatia and HRT don't drop the ball with this one, because they have gold in their hands and they just really need to cash it in and make sure that it is used to its fullest potential. Because, boy, this is incredible. And I see somebody saying he's such a humble guy as well. I talked about the press being very important, pre-parties being very important. He will now have a lot of attention from the press, and being somebody very humble is something very good, because you're very down to earth. You can speak to the press very nicely, and then people start to think about you more positively. More of a snowball effect. Everything is kind of in place, and just pull the right strings, have a good staging, make sure it sounds good live, improve on everything a little bit. Because is it perfect? No. Should it be perfect? Also, no, it's rock music. Why should it be perfect? That's boring. Don't be Sweden. It's going to be a really awesome journey. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Don't
yeah.
be. You're right.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this one. It's going to be really fun, and I cannot wait to hear what other people think about it, and especially locals. Like I cannot wait to hear people's opinions. I'm already really looking forward to Film Friends React, when all of my friends who aren't really into Eurovision, I mean, they are into it a little bit, but they are not as into it as me. They'll listen to this song, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them will like it, and I cannot wait for that already. So yeah, I should stop rambling as well. Like I just love this song. It's my first place at the moment, and no, I'm not even going to stop rambling. Like these lyrics are incredibly impressive as well. Like they really resonate with me, because I come from a town that doesn't even have 2,000 inhabitants, and I now also live in a city. And for the first 2-3 years, I was struggling quite a lot to adjust to the city life. And so a lot of these lyrics for me are, I get what he is saying. And for maybe some people who live in the city, it might be a little bit more difficult to comprehend. But sometimes still, I'm like, whoa, okay, these city people are a bit different, maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
actually, no.
Oh,
I
it
can
really resonates.
actually. I can completely. I think there's a lot of examples of this, and it's not just in the Balkan sense. I think the what happens in the Balkans with flight into the cities is actually an experience that can resonate with people elsewhere as well. You give the example in the Netherlands. I think we can make the same example. For example, in the UK, I'm from a city, a pretty big city, Newcastle, with 300,000 inhabitants, 1 million people in the surrounding area. For those of you who know what a Newcastle accent sounds like, by the way, you'll know I do not have one. I wish I did. It's only when I say the word 30, it suddenly jumps out like 30, dirty. And suddenly I'm like, wow, okay, there it is. But a lot of people end up in London essentially from necessity. And doing what I do, working in the industry I work in, you have to be in London. Basically, there's no other option. So you have again this flight of young people away from other parts of the country into big cities. You could probably say the same thing, for example. It basically in a lot of countries where they have a single city as their major focal point, I know there's a lot of discourse, for example, around how difficult it is for young people to live in Dublin because of the house prices and so on, because of the amount it costs to rent there. But at the same time, the fact that because the economy is very centered around Dublin, people have to find a way. I think this is something that happens in a lot of different countries. Take, for example, a lot of young people moving from southern Italy to northern Italy, or people moving in general across Europe. Massive migrant communities that exist in Western European countries because people have left their homes in pursuit of better opportunities elsewhere. So actually, I think it's a message that can really resonate with people, and it's quite easy to understand, as you say, from the first listen. When you combine that with how catchy and fun the song is, people are going to get it. They're going to hear it once, they're going to get it, because it's simple and complex at the same time. And that's what makes it amazing. I've forgotten what the question was. Did
that
I
wasn't
answer
a question.
it?
You just rambled after me. No, we were just talking about the meaning. And the Netherlands is also a great example, because I come from Groningen, which is like the province in the north, and I come from a small town there. And then usually people from the small towns, they'll have to travel to the capital city of Groningen, which is also called Groningen. Complex, I know. But then still, there is not that much around. So the people will have to move towards the bigger cities, which is like Amsterdam, Rotterdam, The Hague, Utrecht. Those big cities, that is where most people will go to in the Netherlands. And I think in many countries this is the case, and that will resonate with people, especially when you listen to the lyrics. I think they are very nicely portrayed. I think it's easy to understand that even if you don't speak English as incredibly, you can still understand the meaning of the song. Even like meow cat, say meow back. I think that makes it nice and light as well. It's so good. I cannot stop talking about it, really. But maybe we should answer some questions from people.
I think the
Or
other
do you have
thing
anything more to add?
is, the only thing I have to add is actually this is a thing that works both ways as well. And there was a really good video of old Croatians watching this, and watching the music video and being really quite affected by it and really loving it, because for them as well, their kids move away, their grandkids grow up in faraway places. They're affected by this too. It makes me think of, again, we could draw. I'm deliberately picking things from all over Europe here to make the point that it's so accessible across. I remember I saw a video about Visaginas in Lithuania, which is a town where there are essentially no young people at all, because there is massive flight away because there are simply no opportunities there. And for the parents and grandparents who are left behind, that's a really difficult experience, to be far away from your children, especially if they've moved long distances across to other countries. I mean, if we cast our mind back in Eurovision, this is a theme that's come up before. If you remember De La Carpat from several years ago, from Romania, that song was literally promotional material for a charity that encouraged Romanian people emigrating out of Romania to take their children with them, so that, to not split up families and so on. So you have a lot of really sad and quite personal, very relatable stories under here that actually a huge proportion of Europe is going to understand. Again, I might basically been like dust in the turkey naming countries. Think about the 20% of Spanish young people who are unemployed and are having to flock to cities like Barcelona and Madrid, the places where the economy at least is offering some jobs, some employment. They're forced to do this in order to live, in order to exist, to have an independent life as adults that doesn't revolve around waiting at home for something to happen. I'm getting quite het up about this, because this is something that I really relate to as well. I live where I do, and I live the life I do, partly because, I will say I do love London. I like living in London, but partly because I have to be here. And I don't see my parents all that often because they live 300 miles and a quite expensive train ride away. And I miss them. And I think a lot of people are going to really get into, that feeling. I have really gone, I'm now just laboring the point, so I'm going to stop. But I hope that makes sense to you and to everyone in chat.
Oh, 100%. Like it just makes me think about myself as well, I guess, because my grandparents, they hate that I live here, because they can't see me every day. I used to go to them every single day to just play a game with my grandma or something like that, and that cannot happen anymore because I just live quite far away, and like they're not that well with their health necessarily, so it's also a bit difficult for them to travel all this far, and I'm just incredibly busy, so I can't go to them very often either. So it's just difficult, and it's a very easy message, and it's so cool that we have such a song in Eurovision now, which is so good and so out there, and it's just not your typical your love song or anything like you usually talk about in Eurovision. And I think it's so refreshing and in such a nice little coat of paint that it is in. And yeah, I love the song. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And if you talk about when it comes to winning the contest, is the song strong enough to be in the in the conversation? Yes, I think we've agreed on that. I think we have to talk about the zeitgeist and how important that is in Eurovision. Think about, it was like I think I've made this example in the past. No Walls Anywhere, that kind of vibe in the early 90s. Or the fact that Ukraine's song connected so much with people in 2022 because it captured the emotion of the time, which was the things with Kalashok. That was quite a joyful song. It was a serious song. It was melancholic, but it was also joyful. You can dance to it. And it captured this kind of feeling of we're hurting. Either, Ukrainians are hurting. I think the rest of Europe is hurting in solidarity with them. But we're celebrating the fact that we exist and we continue to live on, and no one is going to take it away from that. In the time since then, for I would say not just for young people, but in general, I think people's lives, the number one determining factor in our lives right now is economic insecurity. The last 2 years have been defined by rising bills and rising house prices and uncertainty about whether we can, whether we'll be able to sustain ourselves in the future, whether we'll be able to ever, afford to have a family, whether for older people, they can afford to support the family they have. If you have a song that connects with that feeling, people will vote for it. People will understand it. And because it's in actually pretty simple English, if they can put that message across in the right way, then we could really have a big score on our hands. I'm really excited to see how they do it, because I think this is clearly a project that's in its infancy. There's just so much more coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have to point out this comment from Grace as well, which is maybe a little of a concern. Do you think the message comes across, though? I wonder if it will be lost on casual viewers. It is a good point, but I think the people who will get it will really immediately get it. And for the rest, it is still such a fun song. It is not a ballad or something where you really need to listen to the lyrics to get it. It is very in your face, and it's with simple things, like just saying bye to your family and there's no going back, that you already understand what it's about. And then anxiety attacks is a very, very strong term to put in there as well. I think it's some more easier words that are being used very wisely to convey the message. And I think it has some broad appeal. And yeah, sure, some people won't get the message and you'll just think, oh, that was fun, and still vote for it. Or the other way around, maybe they won't get it at all and then they won't vote for it. But it will resonate with people, and that's the most important. Because the message from Ukraine 2021 also might not have come across to everyone. But it was a message that a lot of people still did get. And that is what is important, because they will vote for it. And, that's going to be important. Do you think it could be an issue?
I think a few things. Firstly, regarding the juries, I actually think that these kinds of songs are going to do better this year because of what happened last year. I think even if there's no guidelines change or anything, people are going to have it in the back of their minds. Because let's face it, the result last year was a little bit uncomfortable in some ways. And I think jurors no one wants to be seen as the big villain of the piece. And I think people are for the most part, they're going to be less likely to, do what some jurors did to Cha Cha Cha. I actually was watching an ESC Tom video just yesterday, I was looking back at some stuff from 2023 where, I completely agree with him. He was saying, how unacceptable it is that there were so-called professional jurors that put Cha 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 last, when any objective analysis of that final would never lead to that conclusion. I think the same is true for this, and I think people are going to be more cautious of that this year. I think also he's going to be a stronger live vocalist than someone like Karia was. Although Karia's stage show and his charisma and his rapping were excellent, I think there were rightly some criticisms made about his vocals. This song, as it is constructed, actually has quite a lot of... It has a pop element to it. Like, it's a good way of that I've been trying to show people, of an example of this, is you can sing Everybody by the Backstreet Boys over the chorus. Because it is a typical... the chorus is a typical call and response pop chorus with rock influences. So it has that accessibility, which is going to see it do better. If we want to talk about the sort of pop favoring, Sweden favoring juries or whatever else, take a look at Smash Into Pieces and how they did quite well in Melody Festival last year. Those kinds of jurors will like Tim Tagi Dim, and they did like Smash Into Pieces, who obviously came third. So I will say we have less reasons to be worried about the jury vote with this than we did with Karia last year. If I can make one more point, sorry, I know I'm waffling so much, but
don't worry.
I also think with how even this year is, you could feasibly see a situation a bit like Azerbaijan in 2011. Remember, they won the contest with 219 points. There were 43 countries participating that year. What that means is, can a situation emerge where you can win Eurovision now with 415, 420, 425 points? Yes. Easy path to get to that. 130 with the juries, 300 with the public vote. Totally feasible kind of result for this song that could win it the whole contest. So bear that in mind. We are not operating an environment like we were last year, where essentially the entire public voted for Kaya and the entire juries voted for Loreen. It isn't that kind of very obvious two-song head-to-head where they're miles above everyone else. We're in a different environment this year, so I think it's worth considering that.